They had basically taken a lot of the iPhone gestures and put them on the Fire tablet. That made it a lot more usable for me because they had the magic tap for starting and stopping audio, so that was pretty cool.
Hello. Well, I thought that was impressive, so I decided to write a little bit smaller and finish out more of a written thought.
Take picture button. Processing. Hello. My handwriting sucks.
Allison, I have to ask you, do you feel left out of popular culture because you don't have an emoji that represents you? The return of Flexi, known as FlickType.
When did they suddenly realize this? I mean, was it all of a sudden, hey, our Siri doesn't work very well.
She's getting trounced by all the other AIs.
Bixby just passed her up.
Well, the younger AIs are just pummeling her.
I did a professional interview with Pornhub on my last podcast. That was for research purposes only. Okay, everybody ready?
Remember to smile.
Always smiling. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to yet another Blind Tech Show. We're here with the usual gang. We're here with Allison Hartley. How are you doing today, Allison?
I'm doing okay, but you forgot the that in That Blind Tech Show.
Did I?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We could rewind it.
We could. Welcome back to that. Welcome back. See, this is the problem with... What did I say? That it's difficult. It's tongue...
You said welcome back to another Blind Tech Show.
Another Blind Tech Show.
Christ.
Welcome back to That Blind Tech Show. So you try it, Alice.
Welcome back to That Blind Tech Show.
Yeah, there you go, Bryan.
There we go.
You're on.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another exciting episode of That Blind Tech Show. I am Allison Hartley, and the reason I am starting is because Mr. Bryan Fischler cannot say That Blind Tech Show without messing up, but he is here with us. How you doing, Bryan?
I'm doing good. I'm not drinking.
Oh, sure you're not.
And he was doing so well.
And we also have Mr. Jeff Thompson, who I almost called Jeff Bridges. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here. Hey, Allison.
Hello.
Hey, Bryan.
Hello, Jeffrey. We've got an exciting first story, and I'm a little surprised that this first topic has not really blown up yet. I believe the hashtag is "Don't Break My Twitter." Am I getting that correct?
Breaking my Twitter.
Yeah, you see, it's not just the name of the show that I can't get wrong. I have that short-term memory loss situation going on.
Who are you?
What am I recording again? That Blind Tech Show, but yeah. Jeff, what do you think about Twitter going all Facebook on us and wanting to destroy everything?
Actually, I just think Twitter decided let's grow in very little ways. It's kind of dumbfounding what they're really doing. Are they trying to get everybody to come back to Twitter using their app, or are they trying to control their content? Like, we don't want any fake tweets. So it's interesting.
I think we got to provide a little bit of context of what's going on for those who maybe haven't checked it out. What's happening is Twitter is going to be eliminating streaming and push notifications from a lot of their third-party Twitter apps. They're basically disallowing that in third-party apps, as taking it out of their API. It was originally supposed to happen on June 19th. They have since pushed it back. They're trying now to work with developers. They're implementing some other kind of API thing that allows for similar functionality, but there's a cost associated with it if you're using more than 35 Twitter usernames. So I don't know how advantageous that's going to be to developers.
I'm pretty sure Twitterific, which I know a lot of us in the blindness community uses, has more than 35 members.
6.
I think maybe just a tad more.
I got 6.
Just a tad more. And yeah, this is just, it's, so funny because these social networks, Facebook and Twitter, they just seem to make bad decision after bad decision. You've grown your platform, and yeah, you're not like Facebook where, Facebook really just has their main app and you've got so many different great third-party Twitter clients. There's no way to roll this back. Honestly, I am not a big Twitter user, and if Twitter does this and breaks this for the third-party Twitter notifications, I will probably not be tweeting anymore.
Oh yeah, I'm gone if they do this. I love Twitter. I spend a lot of my time on Twitter promoting various podcasts I'm on and just kind of being my crazy self, but I'll find some other way to do that if they do this. If they don't work with developers. If they find another way, then I'll stay. If they find another way, then I'll stay.
We should get ahead of this, and the three of us, we should create a new social network that everybody can go to.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a clever name for it. What about you, Jeff?
U.S. mail?
Ooh, old school.
Yeah, kicking it old school.
And you know what I learned recently from the U.S. mail?
Yeah.
Rain, sleet, or snow? What about construction? Because they're ripping up my entire street, and now I'm not getting my packages. So for some reason, they should change it to rain, sleet, snow, or construction. But getting back to the Twitter thing about them, ruining all third-party clients, I can't imagine this is going to happen. I think it's one of those things, and maybe that's why it hasn't been that covered in the news that I've seen so far. I don't see this happening. It'd be Twitter really losing a large percentage of their users.
They would take the Twitterific out of Twitter.
Well, there's already been so much of a backlash. I think they're realizing, oh, crap, we really messed up this time.
And something that I meant to follow on the Twitter, but I didn't, was hashtag CSUN18. And I guess I just didn't pay attention to it because I barely ever remember to pay attention to Twitter. And if I did, I'm probably sure I could have learned about some excellent things coming out of CSUN this year. The one thing I did hear that I was very impressed with coming out of CSUN this year was the improvements to Amazon's Voice View.
Ooh, tell me a little bit more about that.
Voice View by Amazon.
As you know, Amazon Voice View is their screen reader technology. And when it first came out, it was okay. It was...
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't okay. Yeah.
It really wasn't, actually.
I forgot. We're brutally honest on this show.
Yes.
It kind of sucked.
Now we're in the 2018, and...
Yeah.
And it's been developed much more. They're starting to get different gestures. And I'm not going to quote any of the gestures because I just updated and got the new software, and I don't have any of those new gestures committed to memory. I mean, I can't even remember the name of the show that we've been doing for, over 6 months? So it's going to take me a little while to remember those gestures. Everything, but
well, I know at one point they had basically taken a lot of the iPhone gestures and put them on the Fire tablet. That made it a lot more usable for me because they had the magic tap for starting and stopping audio, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, 2-finger double tap, and then you got the 3-finger double tap. You can do your black out your screen.
Yep.
All sorts of stuff. If you know the iOS gestures, you're going to figure this one out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just updated because I turn mine on every 4 months. And there's always enough.
Same here. There's always several updates.
I think it's a great thing because you got a lot of people out there that it's very, very affordable. And I got to hand it to them for cranking out. Well, they flood the market with all these devices at very low prices. But hey, it's working. And if I was in a situation where the cost was, the variable that I had to concede to, those things are getting pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good alternative now.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes, Brian.
It's Amazon. It just works. I mean, I'm really impressed because you're talking, 8 years ago where Kindle was fighting the blind community? Amazon was, I guess, not to have a screen reader in it. I mean, they've done a complete 180. I know we've mentioned that before. Shelley Brisbane did a great interview. I think his name is Peter Korn, the head of accessibility over there at Amazon. And I was really impressed with the Element TV. I don't know if they had that hooked up to great speakers. I have a TiVo which reads me everything except it seems to work off Wi-Fi, and sometimes the Wi-Fi, your screen reader gets a little slow. But what I was impressed with was there's so many options on that TV, and I'm not really in the market for a new TV because my 2008 TV still works great, and I only have one television. But I am thinking about later this year, I'm trying to think where in this apartment can I put the old TV, because there's no reason to...
Brian?
Yeah?
You mean to tell me you have never visited the Allison Hartley Museum of Technology?
That contains an Element TV on the wall.
And I must say, quite the stable of Bluetooth sound systems.
Yeah, several speaker systems.
Yeah, well, the best thing about the Allison Museum is at the end, instead of a gift shop, they have just boxes of old technology, and you get to pick and choose what you want to leave with.
Here, take what you want, yeah.
Yeah, this is January stuff. Just take it.
Element TV.
And it's really great. It just uses an Amazon remote, and you can turn on the accessibility as soon as you turn on the TV. It works great. I use it mainly for Netflix, which is why I don't really use the Apple TV anymore, but it's fantastic.
It sounds fantastic, and the developments, like I said, and the 42-inch or 43-inch, I think is the smallest one. Mm-hmm. I think it's retailing for like $565, which I remember last time. I've only owned 3 televisions my entire life, and the last time I bought a TV, it was well over $1,000.
Ooh, my goodness!
So Well, that was 2008.
Yeah.
So
Must have been a
December
good one.
of 2008. Yeah. So, well, TVs were much more expensive back then.
Yeah, especially the flat screen.
He even had smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision. I know some stupid people. I just do.
Hi, Bryan.
Yeah, no, we're not talking about me, Jeff. I actually had somebody recently email me something that was handwritten and they took a photo of and sent it to me. I spent 45 minutes trying to OCR it on every possible thing, and then I realized this is probably handwritten, and it was a photo, which is why I couldn't read it. Now, my question to you guys is, any ideas? I know Seeing AI supposedly has some handwriting that's still in beta.
It does. Did you try it?
That's the one thing I've yet to try because I don't have any way of...
I would try Seeing AI can pick up... I've had friends tweet their children's Valentine's cards and stuff. They're adorable. But it can read like a child, not to slam children. I'm sure they write beautifully. But it can read a child's handwriting. So you should check that out.
You see, this is my dilemma. My printer stopped working. When you're blind, you don't really print a lot. And for some reason, I have one of these printers that the ink dries up if you don't use it.
Have you tried it on a doctor's prescription?
No, I have not.
No.
And this is a very important document because it's my baseball runs pool. So I know, I know this guy's going to handwrite. I couldn't believe when I found out that it was handwritten. It's really? Because it would have taken you 2 seconds to type it into a spreadsheet.
Well, is it like a JPEG or what? Is it a file or is it a paper?
Basically, he hand wrote something and then took a photo of it and emailed it to everybody. And
all right. So all you have to do then is go into your email, find that attachment, and one of the options in the share sheet should be recognized with Seeing AI. And if it's not, go to one of the more buttons. Sometimes it's the second one, sometimes it's the first one. It depends.
Okay.
And you can turn on Recognize with Seeing AI.
I guess I know what I'm doing after the show. We'll see if that works. But what about you, Jeff? Do you use anything, or have you found anything that works with discovering handwritten stuff?
There's Prismo Go, Seeing AI. I did a demo with that, and I used, the most block type letters, stickman type letters.
Handwriting preview.
Now for this, I just took out a ballpoint pen and a piece of paper and wrote a word on it.
Take picture button. Processing. Hello.
Well, I thought that was impressive, so I decided to write a little bit smaller and finish out more of a written thought.
Take picture button. Processing. Hello. My handwriting sucks.
I gotta admit, that's pretty impressive. Not my handwriting, but it did decipher it. I was impressed by it, but how many times are you going to decide that, this must be a picture of something in handwriting? For one thing, do they even do cursive in school anymore?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Is cursive the new 4-letter word for 4th graders?
I do not know. One thing that I've complained about for a long time, and we know I have a Christmas list worth of complaints, is the notification center in iOS 11, because I don't understand why they just can't give it to us in the order it comes in. For some reason, it has the 2 different areas, and they still, even at my suggestion to Apple Accessibility, have not built in heading navigation so you could easily flick between one section and the other. And when you're like me and get a lot of notifications, some days there's 2 notifications in that top part, other days there's 13 pages that you have to flick through to get to earlier today. One thing I just noticed, though, and this is iOS 11.3, in the update, clearing notifications is so much better. And finally, instead of having to listen to the entire notification that you've probably already heard, you could just quickly flick up and delete it.
To clear.
Yeah, to clear.
That has gotten better. Yeah.
Do you get notifications that you're getting notifications?
I do. I do. When the Yankee game ends, I get 7 different apps that send me the final score.
Oh my God.
Well, herein lies the problem, maybe.
You should maybe pare down the apps that send you notifications. You can customize that.
Yeah, but then I might miss something.
Oh, God.
By the way, with the Apple Watch, I have my phone screen locked in the Apple Watch every 2 seconds. Ding, ding, ding. And people I had clients, what's going on over there? It's nothing important. Don't worry about it. I did mute it the other day, but I don't think it mutes everything. And if you turn on Do Not Disturb, it turns on Do Not Disturb on the phone, and then you miss a phone call that you need.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I never knew my jacket liked turning on my Apple Watch that much.
Yeah. Welcome to winter.
Yeah.
That's something we learned here in New York. Your jacket really likes to interact with your Apple Watch.
So, Allison, when you're crushing grapes out in Napa, does your Apple Watch go off?
If I crushed grapes in Napa, my fitness thing would give me a heart attack because it would say, "Oh my God, you're actually doing something physical."
I heard the Apple Watch is getting really better at logging your fitness.
Actually, it really is. And now that I'm going to be doing this medical weight loss thing, see, I'm telling everybody so that I'll stay accountable on it, that I think the Apple Watch is really going to help me in that, in terms of burning calories.
That's good. And we wish you the best of luck with that. And,
Thank you.
For those keeping score at home, I am on Nutrisystem, not to steal the thunder away from Allison, and I've lost 24 pounds. So
Woohoo! Awesome.
you can go ahead and update that, but you can't update it in the Nutrisystem app because it's not fully accessible and they suck. So, but I am making use of Apple Notes actually and writing down what I eat every day, and it's gone
good.
I just hit day 50 actually.
Wow.
So.
You should try MyFitnessPal. Apparently that's very accessible. I think I'm going to grab that when I start.
You see, you're mistaken though, Allison. I'm on a diet. I'm not doing anything physically fit.
But you still can put your food into
I'm having a great time with Apple Notes actually, because you just type it in there and you don't have to save and you just quit it and it's all there. So I'm having an easy time doing that.
MyFitnessPal is from Under Armour and they just had that breach.
Yes.
Breaches are like a dime a dozen nowadays.
Yeah, everybody's been breached. At least a time or two.
You guys now, you don't share the same scale, but you have the same scale, right? Talking scale?
We do. The same, just basic, nice basic. I think it's a tailored glass talking scale. $30 on Amazon. Best talking scale I've ever had.
Tailored glass.
Well, it's called the Taylor scale. I don't know if the glass itself is tailored.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Well, you guys are getting out in fit. You're going to start getting tailored stuff.
Actually, I walked into a tailor office the other day, not to get sidetracked, and let's just say it's the second time in 9 years I've had to call the police with my guide dog, because I was refused service, and he just kept saying, "Perro, perro," and finally, my limited Spanish, I said, "Dog?" And he says, "Out!" And I was like, I dropped a lot of F-bombs on this thing, but which leads me kind of into our next story, because if you saw my posting on Facebook about this whole issue, you would know that I am definitely not politically correct. And I can't stand political correctness. I just don't get it. You know, I love being brash and saying what's on my mind. And I got to ask you guys, Apple coming out with accessibility emojis. Just worry about voiceover. Don't worry about emoji.
I really do want them to fix voiceover before they do this. I mean, yes, I do think that this is important because it shows, that we're a part of society and deserve to be
in emoji form.
I mean, if they can have a smiling pile of poop emoji, which is not even real, they should be able to have like real people being represented and our dogs and canes and such. But yeah, fix voiceover first, for crying out loud. Like, come on.
Allison, I have to ask you, do you feel left out of popular culture because you don't have an emoji that represents you?
Well, I mean, sometimes I cry about it, and
they're there.
Bryan, would it change your mind and make you feel much better if they had a sphincter emoji to better represent you?
A sphincter says what?
A sphincter says what?
Okay, I think we had enough fun with emojis for the day, so let's get back to talking about good things that technological companies are doing, such as Apple. And it was so funny because this article, when I read it, the very first sentence says, "Well, don't all people know what floor they're on?" And I'm thinking, I don't. Apple was recently granted a patent, so we might see this around 2040, where your iPhone or Apple Watch may eventually be able to tell you what floor you're on. What are you thinking about this, Allison?
I want this because, okay, I'm going to tell a really embarrassing story. So in one of our apartment buildings, we lived on the fourth floor. So I went into my apartment we lived in this house, and in that one we were on the second floor, but I was on autopilot, and I sit Gary down and I hit 4, and we're walking down the hallway to what I think is our apartment, and we just kind of hang out. We're walking, and this guy says, "Oh, hello," and I said hi, and he almost seemed like surprised to see me, and I'm like, well, gosh, I live here. So then I get to my door, and it has like a doorbell and all kinds, like it looks totally different from
swastikas.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, Gare Bear, I think we're on the wrong floor. And so I went back to the elevator, and it was not one of those elevators that had the braille on the outside where you could see what floor you were on. So I had to use the buttons to think, okay, there's still an up button and still a down button. So we must be on 4, and then I had to just go back in and went back down to 2. I realized what I had done, but still, it was a big pain in the butt. So yes, in short, this technology would be very useful.
I just hope that it's faster than me trying to grope the button panel, because sometimes the sequential order of the floors is undecipherable to me, especially if there's other people waiting for me to figure everything out.
You know, they say you can't teach an old blind guy new tricks, but I think I just proved that you can, because the return of Flexi, known as FlickType. And for those of you that don't know the long history of Flexi, a quick rundown. And when they first came out, I believe it was in 2012-ish, they used a lot of us blind beta testers to build their tremendous app and everything. And then they basically pulled the rug out from underneath us and jumped for the money. They did create a Flexi VO, and then for some reason, I think they got sick of all the blind people complaining, how dare you create a separate app for us? So they then got rid of Flexi VO, and everything was just dormant. And then you heard over the last several years, some things worked, some things didn't work. Well, the developer of Flexi on his own has now developed FlickType, and I, being a Flexi beta tester from the old days who loved Flexi, said I never in a million years would I again try and do anything related to Flexi. Until 3 days ago when I said,
see?
Yep, hey, lesson learned. Why am I going to limit something that might be extremely helpful to me? And I tweeted at FlickType, I'll tell you, it is tremendous. They're doing a tremendous job. It's in beta. If you want to test it out, we'll try and find the email to put it in show notes.
FlickType@gmail.com.
Or their new one is beta@flicktype.com.
Oh, well, I'm clearly out of the loop, but I'm enjoying it.
You know what we should even tell people? For those of you that have no clue what we're talking about, FlickType, it's a way to type 10 times faster than, even if you're good at typing on a regular iPhone on-screen keyboard, trust me, you're going to be 10 times faster typing with FlickType. So I am part of the beta. Are you guys part of the beta?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Loving it. And I really don't think, I see a lot of people like, but we couldn't trust Flexi, so how can we trust this guy? And I don't mean to sound condescending, but I kind of am, because here's the thing. This guy, yes, was the developer of Flexi, but he was working for a company who was telling him what to do, and he had to develop it. Now on his own, he's choosing to do the right thing. So I refuse to punish this man for something that he had probably very little control over, which was the inaccessibility ultimately of Flexi. I refuse to feel mistrust or anger towards him for something that he had very little control over. End of rant.
And Allison, I even know a certain podcaster named Jeff that interviewed FlickType.
FlickType? now you just...
FlickType! FlickType! What's wrong with me today?
So what made you decide to come out with FlickType right now?
So that's a great question, and there's a little bit of background here. So before the beginnings of my earlier app and company, Flexi, which some of you may have used before, I was personally frustrated with just how much effort and concentration was needed to type a short message on a touchscreen. Back then, the touchscreen phones were kind of a new thing, so it just seemed too difficult. And having an engineering background, I was kind of thinking there must be a better way. So even though a wide range of alternative keyboards already existed, actually, like Swipe and SwiftKey, you may have heard of those, I just always felt that something big was keeping us away from what I thought would be the ideal typing experience. So after the eventual sale of the product Flexi to Pinterest, that was almost a couple of years ago, I spent some time working there, and it was only a few months ago that I decided to leave and once again pursue my own dreams. And doing a little bit of research, I was recently surprised to notice that still, to this day, the offerings available for text input, and that is particularly for people with low vision and blindness, come very short of this ideal experience that I'm imagining. So they're still either very slow, they require you to learn an entirely new way to type, or to carry some special piece of hardware like a keyboard, a hardware keyboard with you at all times. And you never know when you're gonna need to write something down. I just think that there is a lot of room for improvement still. And having said what I talked about with the background before with Flexi, I do feel like I've learned a lot from my mistakes in my previous company, for which, by the way, I do want to personally apologize to the community. I do feel that now is the right time to push the envelope further, starting with what is a solid foundation based on some source code that was open sourced by Flexi some time ago, and then extending it with a lot of fresh new ideas that I have to make it even better.
You know, Costa apologized and he wants to make a new start. And I think it's great that he's back. And we focused this podcast on this is a new app, FlickType, Bryan, FlickType. Mm-hmm. And we did not want to focus on the negative.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like I said, if I could give Alex Rodriguez a second chance, why can't I give Flexi a second chance? When Alex Rodriguez is going to do nothing to help me in my day-to-day productivity.
Yeah. We gave Bill Clinton how many chances? So come on now, you know.
Oh, yeah. So there's been, it's interesting. We've never talked about hirings or employees of certain companies on this podcast. So this is a first for us and everything. There's been actually some exciting hirings that could end up being great for the blindness community. And of course, I will butcher these names, so that's a 411 for you. But the AFC had... I can't even get the name of the foundation right.
Oh, Lord.
Welcome to That Blind Tech Show.
The AFB has added Sarah, I believe it's Herrlinger, to its board. And
right.
Jeff, you want to tell us why this is important to us?
Well, it's a great addition because Sarah Herrlinger is the Director of Global Accessibility Initiatives at Apple. She's been behind VoiceOver. She's a great advocate for the blind and visually impaired. She's been there since 2003, involved in the education, to make Apple products inclusive to everyone. And she's helped define the accessibility product strategy across Apple. So I think this is a great addition to the American Foundation for the Blind to have on their board.
I agree. I'm very excited about this. I think this heralds good things for Apple and a better partnership with the blind community.
Yeah, I could see her going to that first AFB board meeting and there being a line to say, okay, this is what's wrong with VoiceOver. This is what's wrong with VoiceOver.
Bless her heart. She's going to get an earful. But she monitors the accessibility to Apple.com email account a lot, so she's probably heard it and seen it all already.
As they say, this is not her first rodeo. And the second hiring that I wanted to mention to you guys, this one cracks me up, that Apple hired away from Google, what I believe it's their head of AI. Is this Apple really just admitting that Siri sucks compared to Google Assistant?
I should think so. I mean, my God, if they can't admit that by now, then they're really, really they're blinder than we are if they can't see that.
When did they suddenly realize this? I mean, was it all of a sudden, hey, our Siri doesn't work very well?
She's getting trounced by all the other AIs.
Bixby just passed her up.
Well, the younger AIs are just pummeling her.
I didn't include this in our outline note, but on a side note to this story, the next story was Apple has hired over 100 engineers just to work on Siri.
She needs every one of them.
Yeah. I think they do realize that Siri... it's like they came out with it and they said, okay, we never need to improve it.
Mm-hmm. Which is ridiculous.
I'm just perplexed. I mean, do they add an addition and put in a big room in there with a bunch of desks and a teacher comes in and says, do any of you know about Siri? Raise your hand, Or do they just start and, okay, this is Google, this is Lady A, and we want something better than this. Good luck. And then shut the door and say, go to work fast.
Maybe they've just been understaffed for years. I know at Apple, they don't just hire any engineer. They have to have a specific set of skills.
Or formerly worked at Google.
Yeah, exactly. Worked on Google Assistant. They might even want to reach out to Amazon to get some of those people that have worked on the A-Lady. And I'm sure Microsoft Cortana is probably catching up to Siri. So that might be another talent pool for them to jump into. And, one area where they really need to hire some new employees is they need to fire everybody working on Apple News. Because I know we've discussed this before, but it continues to get worse. I went to use Apple News today, and I'd had 3 stories from today, and then everything would jump back 4 weeks. So we went from 4 weeks to today and nothing happened. And this is when you would go into the individual subscription. So like 9 to 5 Mac, when I'd go to look at the latest headlines, there'd be 3, and then everything went back 4 weeks. Huh. Yeah, it just, I don't know what they've done with Apple News, but it continues to really decline. And this actually led me to, because I couldn't find some great articles to talk about, this led me to start using RSS again. I was a longtime user of Newsify. Have either of you guys used Newsify?
I've not. I like Lire.
And that's spelled Lire, right?
That is.
Yeah, it's Lire. Yeah, that's right.
Well, Newsify, over the last several years, it's not fully accessible. They've really broken a lot of the functionality that I liked, like heading navigation from day to day, so you can jump from one day, all the articles that came in. They completely got rid of that. So today was the last straw with Newsify when I went to delete just 15 of the 3,000 articles that were in my folder, and instead it deleted all 3,000.
Oh, crap. Oh,
yeah,
no.
So that's when I went and typed in, because I had heard they had made some great improvements with Lire over the last year or so. I re-downloaded it. I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't have to pay for it again. I thought with all the redesign that I might have to pay for it. But I'll let you, since I've just started using it really again today, why don't you tell the listeners, is it Lire or Lire? Or
it's actually pronounced Lire, and it means read in French. And we actually interviewed Kunal, who is the developer, several years ago on the Tech Doctor podcast, and he's super cool, super committed to accessibility. And it's just a very nice, accessible interface for your RSS feeds and the individual stories. And I like it a lot. You can now have feed wrangler integration, so you can keep all your RSS in sync across multiple devices, and I just can't say enough good things about it. It's totally accessible, and it's always remained so.
Yeah, no, the reason I didn't like it at first was I think it had a maximum of 300 or 400 articles, but they've now, since it's up to 10,000, which,
right.
heck, who's going to...
Yeah.
And I was blown away. First off, compared to Newsify, the voiceover accessibility is tremendous. The options, I have all my articles in different folders, like Apple, Yankees, stuff like that. The fact that you could have different folders to go newest first, oldest first, depending on what you want to see. And he's really done a tremendous job. I mean, this thing is leaps and bounds above the way it was a few years ago. And I already moved Newsify because I didn't want to just delete Newsify yet. I moved that to page 7 of my apps, and Lire has now moved to page 3. So
there you go.
I think I'll be using it. And Jeff, you don't really use RSS, do you?
Oh, I use Apple News, and I use Flipboard. I also have BBC, NPR, and a few other news apps, but I don't have all the notifications turned on, Bryan. And I also use my Amazon device with flash briefing for in the morning.
Hey, well, my Apple News will be my go-to source if I want to read news from 4 weeks ago.
I think for our listeners, Allison, we should explain what RSS feeds means.
So RSS stands for really simple syndication, and when a website decides to have an RSS feed, it's basically a feed that shows any new content that is published to the site, usually in a format that's stripped down of a lot of the normal crap that you see on websites. So, for example, if I don't want to keep going to imore.com to check the latest news, I have the iMore RSS with their breaking headlines, and I can just see in my RSS reader of choice on any platform the newest stories from iMore as they come in. So it's really nice.
Yeah, the one thing with RSS that I do not particularly care for, and this I checked in Newsify as well as Lire, if you were to type in assistive technology, it'll pull up People, it'll pull up a lot of mainstream publications. It doesn't really, that's something that they really need to work on is the search criteria. It doesn't really do, if you type in blindness, for example, it's pulling up Time magazine. It's not, it's not pulling up AFB or something like that and everything. So that's one thing. You really have to search in broad topics, like Apple.
You really have to search, specifically, ideally for whichever publication you would like to follow.
Have any of you ever used Google Alerts?
I have not.
I have.
On the email, if you go to Google Alerts, you can go in there and type in some topics like blindness, or, Yankees if you're from New York.
That would flood me with emails.
What you get is you get an email, and then it lists probably 15 things on a daily basis, and you can kind of skim through it and stuff like that. I do that, but it ends up like...
I don't want that in my email. Ugh, yeah.
You see, I'm a little insulted, Jeff. You know I'm a megalomaniac, and I have my name as a Google alert. So anytime somebody writes something about me, I do get to see that and everything. Actually, I have my name. The only 2 Google alerts I have are my name and Laugh for Sight, just to make sure that everything, as the kids say, is kosher when it comes out.
Laugh, First Sight, and Sphincter. Wow.
And a sphincter says what? That one was so good we get to do it twice. So, yes, some of you out there may think that I like to complain, but I actually put actions to my complaints.
That's good.
Meaning, when I do complain about development or assistive technology or something, believe it or not, I do reach out to a lot of these developers. And we wanted to kind of tell you 2 quick little stories here about the positivity that can come from working with different developers. And Jeff, you had a great experience with a podcast company, correct?
Yeah, well, it's not a podcast company. It's a file storage company for podcasts. It's Libsyn.
You just want me to get everything wrong on this podcast.
No, you're managing to do that all by yourself, dude. But Libsyn, that's Libsyn, they host files. They store your files for podcasts and stuff like that. There's other ones. There's Blueberry and stuff. But Libsyn, with the Blind Abilities app, they talked about accessibility. And Rob Volch, he's very good. And you can catch him on the IIT.
Today in II.
No, TII.
Yeah,
Today in...
Oh, you can get things wrong too.
And he has a good connection with the visually impaired, the voiceover users and all that stuff. So he's a good guy. And he set me up with their developers, and we worked on it. And it changed the whole format for all their podcasts, apps that they do produce and stuff like that. So sometimes I feel like I'm getting it before the other people. Just to give it a kick around. But, they've been doing it really good. What's that?
It's kind of New Zealandish.
Oh, no.
Getting it before other people.
But anytime I have a problem, I just write Rob an email and stuff like that. And within a day or 2, he sends me a new framework, So it's nice to have response. I've worked with Shure, their microphone, the Motive app, and that works good. It's kind of neat when you get response. When you get response, it's fun. You feel like you're impacting something.
That's awesome.
You feel like instead of being part of the problem, you're contributing to a solution. Yeah. And you might get a sports theme focus here, because I've actually worked with Yahoo Fantasy, and they built their app from the ground up with voiceover in mind, and they've done a fantastic job making sure everything's voiceover accessible. I've worked with the Score, Bleacher Report, but the latest one, is I had this longtime game I was playing for 12 years. Unfortunately, the developers of the website decided to end it, and I was since November searching for a new baseball game to play, and I found one that I thought I'd like through Fangraphs called AutoNew, and I reached out to them, and the developer got right back to me, and he said he was pretty sure that the stuff would work with voiceover. I had asked about, certain buttons and stuff. We've now had over 50 emails go back and forth to each other. The few voiceover issues on the website, for example, there was a latest news link and it was just labeled as a button. He had that fixed in under 2 hours. Whoa. And you're not always going to get that from every developer, but this guy, he's keeping it as he says, any voiceover accessibilities you have. And I can't imagine that they have many, if any, blind customers besides me. So just, obviously when something doesn't work, your first thought is going to be anger. Trust me, I'm guilty of it a lot of times. Jeff gets phone calls with me screaming my head off and dropping F-bombs and stuff. And believe it or not, a lot of times if you reach out, almost every website or app, you could find a contact developer. Just let them know, and be professional, be polite, and you're not going to get a response if you're rude and start off, being accusatory and everything. You're going to have other companies like ESPN, the biggest evil on the planet, that in over 5 years have never responded to any attempt to make anything accessible. And Yeah, you never know. Allison, have you had any positive stories recently about anything like this?
Not recently, honestly. I've been so busy with work stuff. There have been times where I've reached out to app developers on Twitter, and then my experiences are usually like I talk about inaccessibility on Twitter. They're like, oh yeah, thanks, we will work on that. And then later there's an update that comes out that addresses accessibility issues. I'm trying to think of when I ever really worked directly with the developer. Well, yeah, I was a beta tester for Twitterific for quite a while. So yeah, I was involved in that.
And Allison's correct. Another great medium to do. And if anybody follows me, Blind Gator, on Twitter, you may see me constantly blasting companies for accessibility issues I have. Because one thing I've noticed, if a company doesn't respond to contacting their developer, the next best thing to do is say something on Twitter. Because anytime you mention a company on Twitter, they don't really like being mentioned negative. So
Grubhub doesn't care, and now
Grubhub could
now Eat24 is the same as Grubhub. They're all under the same crappy UI, and you can barely use it, and I hate it, and I'm so mad.
Well, that's because Grubhub and Eat24 think all of us blind people on diets.
And Seamless, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Seamless and Grubhub are the same.
So is Eat24 changed their whole UI when they got bought by Grubhub, so now it's all three apps are the same. It sucks.
Grubhub, this is a message for you. There was another group that wanted everybody to be in uniformity, and they were called Nazis. Yeah. Not good.
No.
So, but yeah, no, moral of the story, reach out to developers, and you never know. You never know who cares, and you might reach a great developer and everything. But so, anybody out there have their info stolen by Facebook?
I'm sure I have. I've not really done much digging to find out, but we all pretty much have.
Yeah, it's interesting. But obviously, this is a topic that's been all over the news. If you haven't heard of this, then you're not getting any notifications like me. But I don't fully blame Facebook on this, because I just read an article today about another political, I guess, polling firm that was trying to steal information from Facebook on its users, which I found kind of fascinating. I think the polling networks was partially to blame for this and everything. That they're obviously trying to steal this information. Don't get me wrong, Facebook deserves the lion's share of the blame, but I'm not going to be leaving Facebook anytime soon. Allison, I think you had a different opinion.
Well, my opinion isn't so much, I don't so much blame the other companies. I blame Facebook for when they found out lying about it. Just flat out lying it to its users. And I also am really bothered by this memo that one of the heads of Facebook wrote about how we connect people at all costs, even if somebody gets killed or bullied, even if somebody dies in a terrorist attack, because the connecting people is what really matters. So I'm really not sure morally if I can continue to support Facebook if that's the kind of attitude that the people who run it actually have.
Allison, did you not see the movie The Social Network?
No, I did not.
Okay, it's about Mark Zuckerberg and the founding of Facebook and how it transpired. I expect Mark Zuckerberg to lie to me. He pretty much stole the idea for Facebook. So, what about you, Jeff? What are your thoughts about this data breach, or will you be continuing to use Facebook and post all of our great podcasts on there for the listeners to listen to?
Can't we just go back to the Facebook?
That's what it was originally. And I forget the guy's name. It was the guy that created Napster that, what's his name, played in the movie, Justin Timberlake, who said, "What about just Facebook?"
Justin Timberlake? I don't think Justin Timberlake was in...
He was really good in the movie. He
was
really good.
Okay.
Yeah, they have it with described video on that website, so go ahead and get The Social Network. We're just, Allison, you're going to have to quit your job with all these movies we want.
I know, right? I need, for all the books I want to read and movies I need some source of independent wealth.
Yeah, and all the actors in that movie had their identity breached by Facebook.
Yeah. I thought I had a very funny post on Facebook the other day because Facebook just aired its first baseball game, and it was only aired on Facebook. It was the Mets game. And I wrote, "The New York Mets are playing on Facebook." And on a related note, all of the New York Mets identities have been stolen.
To me, I think this thing's not, I don't want to say it's blown out of proportion, because it is huge. It is one of the biggest companies out there in social media world. And I think he's doing a good thing by saying, I'm the CEO. It's my fault. We didn't see this, we didn't know this, or whatever. He's coming out publicly, but he is coming out publicly, and he's going to go, he's going to go speak to Congress and stuff like that. But I think when you look at it, you look at Target, you look at Home Depot, you look at all these now Saks, Fifth Avenue and Saks, and all these other breaches where they actually breach and get your credit cards, direct to your banks and stuff. And now here they got me. They know that I got 64 likes on my birthday. I mean, okay. I mean, I chose to put that stuff on there. And, it goes back to like 10 years ago. Oh, I met someone on the internet. Whoa, that's, times have changed. I don't see this as a huge problem, but if they're making money on, I don't know. It's confusing to me.
What scares me is the quote I saw today from a politician who said, the government needs to regulate Facebook. I'm like, oh.
Like hell. The government does not need to regulate my internet.
Oh, God, yeah. That was like...
MySpace just went up 10% on the stock.
Well, this leads me to another question for you guys. Is it officially time to always be using a VPN, virtual private network?
I don't know. They always slow things down and they don't work half the time. At least some of the VPNs that I have used. There's this new 1.1.1.1 that apparently doesn't
how many ones things. And how many dots was that?
Don't make
3 and 4.
Don't make me do it again.
I thought that was Morse. I thought you were doing Morse code.
Oh yeah, that's about as complicated as entering a conference code number. When you're on a conference call, they give you that 16-digit number, and now enter. I'm sorry, that is not the number. I'm sorry, you've entered an incorrect number. I'm sorry, you're out of time.
And it doesn't repeat.
Sorry. On an iPhone, no less. Yeah.
Those things drive me bonkers. But I'm starting to think about using a VPN for banking and privacy reasons and stuff like that. It's not like I'm looking at anything I shouldn't be looking at, except when I am. But no,
except when you are, yeah.
What was that?
Stormy Daniels.
Except when you're on Pornhub.
I did a professional interview with Pornhub on my last podcast. That was for research purposes only.
Now look at you. You're blind.
I just happened to look at them recently to see if they'd added any new content.
Oh, I see. So you were doing the blind community a great service.
I was. I need to tweet them.
Not only not on video, but you put it on a podcast.
I swear to you, I have not watched all 300 videos with described video.
You need to get audio described podcast.
Audio described podcasting? That's taking the blindness too far, Jeff. Anyhow, I just really got a cool product. Bone Conduction sunglasses. Have you either of you guys heard of these?
Well, I mean, I saw the video that you.
So when you walk around, do you tactily feel the sidewalk?
No, but I could hear I could hear you podcasting, Jeff, and what's going on around me in my environment, and I don't have to wear speakers. Now, I had heard these mentioned on the first company that really, I guess they had a Kickstarter, was called Zungle. They were really the first one to explore this territory, building bone conduction into sunglasses. Now, full disclaimer, the reviews on Amazon of all of these products are not great. You're not going to get above a 3.5 rating for any of these products. The reason being is I think a lot of sighted people buy these products and expect to have great stereo sound, and then they're, really shocked at how bad it is and everything. My reason for getting these was, I thought it would be great to just quickly run outside when I'm listening to a podcast, or if I wanted to use blind square GPS. And I have a pair of bone conduction headphones, but honestly, they don't hold a charge. And whenever I want to use them, they're not fully charged because I don't use them regularly. So this was something I said I needed a new pair of sunglasses because I'm always wearing sunglasses. And this would be kind of cool, where I thought if I'm in a restaurant, I just want to quickly hear something with voiceover. Now, I just got these yesterday, and we'll have to put the link in the show notes because I think the product name might be pronounced Tambliss. What do you guys think? Any idea on this one?
I think we're getting to a point in our lifetime where they've ran out of names to call companies.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Now, these glasses, the volume is not very loud. The volume, who makes the other pair of the Prime Bone Conduction headphones?
The aftershocks?
The aftershocks volume, if you're used to that, these volume, because, they're built into a pair of sunglasses, they're not particularly loud. I did notice out on a street where cars were passing by, I could hear them okay. I have not gotten to test them in Manhattan where there's a lot of street noise, or in a restaurant or bar yet to hear if I could hear the voiceover, but I was pleasantly surprised. The volume was loud enough, because with bone conduction, you got a fine line. You want it to be loud enough for you to hear, but you don't want it to be too loud where everybody around you can hear it.
I'm waiting for the Sonos Bone Crusher headphones.
I got these things, the Tambless. Like I said, we'll put a link in the show notes to the product. I think they're listed for $79. For some reason, I put them to my cart and I got them for $63. Maybe they just couldn't wait to get rid of them. I'm pretty happy. I've only had it for, like I said, a day.
Now, why didn't you go with the Zungle people?
The Zungle sell for like $188, and the reviews on that, there's even a YouTube video, and I said, you know what, they all sound about the same, so let me go with the cheaper version, the cheaper chicken, and I sometimes, I've learned with a lot of times with some of these Bluetooth headphones and stuff, when it's not, AirPods or something, you could go with the cheaper ones, and they're just as good. None of the companies were names I've ever heard of. There's about 5 or 6 different companies on Amazon that sell these things. They range. Some were $30, but those were really just Bluetooth. Yeah. Kind of like a speaker attached, and I'm like, this. They look like regular sunglasses. They're not the. They feel like a pair of sunglasses you'd probably buy off a rack in a drugstore, but. I've been told they look okay and everything, and if I could listen to voiceover without having to plug in an earphone when I'm out and about and everything, I think it's fantastic, and at least for one day, I am liking them.
See, I want Ira to have bone conducting technology in their sunglasses. That way, I don't have to have my aftershocks paired to my phone when I'm out with my glasses. It gets a little crowded on my head.
Yeah. So... well, that was the other thing. Like I said, I've got my AirPods for when I want to listen to good sounding audio, and now I've got these where if I just want to quickly do something, say I want to quickly send a text, why I have to I have to wear sunglasses when I'm out and about because of light sensitivity. They do send these with 3 different pairs of frames. I'm curious to ask a sighted person what the other ones look like. Not frames, but lenses. And, these seem dark enough. I've worn them outside when it was a bright sunny day, and they seemed, they're supposedly UV protected and all that and everything. So Oh,
there you go.
For $60 or so, I'm pretty happy with them and everything. You might want to check them out and everything. But we tried on the last show to kick off a new topic because the kids out there have been asking for it. And we unfortunately did not get to air it, but we're going to try and kick it off now. I don't know how we came up with the title for this, but we have a special brought to you only by That Blind Tech Show called Jeff Tech.
Welcome to Jeff Tech.
Yeah, Bryan was talking about this. It's not really that techy. It's just something that I was using. He was interested in it, so asked me to put it on here. So I took a picture of my signature and had someone crop it. And one is a transparent background and the other is a white background. So I have signature 1 and 2 in my downloads. And I did this years ago because you'd come across a form and they'd want your signature, and I didn't want to print it off, that type of thing. So I just pasted in there. Now, today, since a lot of forms are interactive, they don't really allow you to paste into, but if you can, it's one way of getting around it. Bryan liked it, so there you have it.
I definitely think it's something, if you give the steps to people, that a lot. I was interested. I said, I don't know. You get a lot of forms where you can't use this, and I'm so sick of having to email a friend or my mommy a form and say, can you please sign this, scan it, and send it back to me? And this would be an easy way. Obviously, it's not going to work with everything because you get some of these PDF forms that you can't copy or paste anything. You actually have to type it into the field and everything. But it could work in a lot of places. So I thought this was something that a lot of listeners would be interested in learning how to do. And we'll have to come up with a special segment for Allison eventually. But there's just not... Jeff and Tech kind of rhyme. I don't know. Allison, what rhymes with Allison?
Nothing that we can...
You see? She doesn't... But The good news about that, I bet there were no evil kids that gave you a rhyming nickname like...
No.
So if you can think of something that rhymes with Allison, send us an email at thatblindtechshow@gmail.com.
Or tweet us in just at Blind Tech Show. But make sure you tweet us in before June 19th because we might no longer be on Twitter after that.
Well, no, it's beyond June 19th now, Dave.
Mm.
Yeah.
90 days.
Plus June 19th.
3 more
Is
months.
that like D-Day?
July, August, September 19th. Doomsday.
So it's been a while since we had What's Pissing Off Bryan Now, and nearly a day goes by. Something that's not pissing me off.
Let me guess. Brian, why don't you like the Apple TV?
Because I hate the 4th generation Apple TV.
Oh.
The ABC app. I missed the premiere of the new Roseanne show. So I said, that's not a problem. I could go to my Apple TV and play it on the ABC app because I'm a cable subscriber. And of course, I go to the ABC app and I go to popular shows and all I hear is 1 of 82, 2 of 82.
Oh.
Yeah, no titles to the names of the shows. So then I go to Apple's tremendous TV app because, of course, that's all going to be accessible.
Or
So I finally find Roseanne. By the way, this whole process took me an hour. I was really committed. So I find Roseanne and I go to play it and it launches in the ABC app and takes me to a screen where it won't read me anything.
oh no.
Yeah, in the ABC app. So Apple, get your shite together. That's not a bad word if I pronounced it another way, but you know what? When's that first AFB council meeting? Can I attend? There's a new board member I want to talk to about this. And there's more, of course, that I want to talk to her about Apple because I'm sorry, Jeff and I disagree about High Sierra. It just sucks, and I know I got to roll it back or do a fresh install. When they can't get contacts, now you can't enter any information into a new contact field on High Sierra, which is just ridiculous, you know. And this is something that worked for a long time, so it's just the continued issues that I've had with High Sierra just does not make for a pleasant use.
I would do when's the last time you did a clean install? Though?
I don't know. To me, it's kind of like doing a colonoscopy, and I just can't get. No, it's.
Well, it's very. Both are very necessary.
Exactly. You are correct. You speak the truth, lady.
But not a selfie.
No, never. But are sighted people doing that now? I just had my colonoscopy. Here's my selfie. Because I got the TurboTax update, and it said, now on TurboTax, take a selfie and share with your friends and family after you've done your taxes. And I'm like...
I saw that. I was like, oh, puke. I'm not going to do that.
I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I've heard a lot of stupid things.
Yeah, we are not a serious people.
No. So, anyhow, guys, we've been rambling here and ranting and rambling. So, Jeff, you're headed on down to our great nation capital. You see, I know geography. Why don't you tell the folks what you're going to be doing in Washington, D.C. this week?
Well, as a member of the State Rehab Council of Minnesota, I was elected to attend the National State Rehab Council Board Convention in Washington, D.C.
And that's not for drugs, right? Not for drugs.
Of course, Brian, of course. There's another half of this component that meets during the first half of the week, and that's for the vocational rehabs. Their board's convention will be in the beginning of the week, and then, which is all general agencies and blind agencies. The administrators will be meeting there. And then in the second half of the week, it's blind specific. So we'll be talking a lot about the WIOA, which is the Workforce Incentives and Opportunities Act, where you had the PREATs in particular were focused on every state had to spend 15% of its budget, not actually grow their budget by 15 to do it, but actually they took 15% and set it aside, and so everyone took a 15% cut for the rest of the program, technically. And so there's lots of rules and ways. They basically are telling all the agency, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be accountable. We're all going to work together and get this done in this way and fashion. So when they implemented this, came up with it in 2014 and enacted it in 2015, all the agencies had to adjust. And so The concentration is on the 14 to 21-year-olds, transition age students, to get them sustainable and competitive employment, more or less a career type of thing. Not just get them a job so they can get also Social Security, but get them a career so they will sustain employment for a longer period of time. And that's what we do. We talk about that stuff, and RSA will be out there, which is the Rehabilitation Services Administration. They'll be there. Oh, there's a few others that'll be there. WinTech, which actually helps agencies with technology to implement these actions, and a whole bunch of others. So it's a really good time to be in the conversation with all these people. Representatives from other agencies will be out there, organizations like NFB, AFB, and so forth. So it's a good time.
It's funny. People used to go to Washington, D.C. for the great museums or Washington Monument. Nowadays, it seems like everybody goes there just to participate in a protest at the White House. So will you be protesting while you're there, Jeff?
No, I won't have time for that, but there is an Apple store 3 blocks away. Plus, there is a restaurant that we always go to, and it's called Founding Farmers, and that's really good. And right across from there, there's a store called Cupcakes, and that's all they have. Cupcakes, just cupcakes.
What do you have against cupcakes? I like cupcakes. The two people on the diets like cupcakes.
Yeah, what's wrong with cupcake? Yeah.
I'll mail you each a cupcake. How's that?
All right, I would like maple bacon, please.
Maple bacon? That just sounds disgusting.
Are you kidding? You never had maple syrup on your bacon when you had pancakes?
Oh, I'm not on a cupcake. I do want one now. Thank you.
Okay, 2 maple bacon cupcakes coming up.
I'll have to check if that's on the Nutrisystem.
If they do ship that stuff, I'm mailing them.
Awesome.
Cool. I'll have to make sure to get you my mailing address, because that's one thing I do not want to get through email.
Now, if I do 2 cupcakes, can I get Amazon's bulk rate?
Anyhow, gang, I guess we can...
you got to ask Allison what she's got.
Oh, that's true. I mean, how rude of me. Nobody ever asked me what I'm doing. Allison, what do you got going on over there? What's shaking?
I got work and more work. And did I mention work?
Busy.
So 3 times the amount of work and everything.
That sounds about right.
Well, that's good. So you got a lot of work going.
Yes.
By the way, everybody filed their taxes?
I did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, on that note, file your taxes. We are part of the Blind Abilities Podcast Network. Yes, we know we have not mentioned that in a while. We are That Blind Tech Show. You can reach us through email, thatblindtechshow@gmail.com, or you can tweet us in @blindtechshow. And amazingly, I didn't screw any of that up. And we're out.
When we share
what we see
through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations and the realities of blind abilities.
The realities of blind abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter @blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, Blind Abilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.